I apologize. Get ready. Let's get it on. I'm sorry, but you've got nowhere to run for the next 10 minutes. And you absolutely are in trouble, man. What does this super freak think he's doing? When will he tell us what's going on? You're thinking, stop, in the name of love. He is most definitely not my guy. What becomes of the broken-hearted audience if he never stops doing this? Mercy, mercy me. Is it just my imagination, or has he done way too much of this already? He's not killing this joke. He's risking all-out war on the audience. But I say to you, this is higher ground. And I'm on cloud 9 here. So don't be uptight. Everything is all right. Okay, I can tell I'm losing you. So I will stop now. Okay, 16 seems like plenty. It's time to say, welcome to Detroit. Welcome to RailsConf 2024. I am absolutely delighted to welcome you here for 3 days of talks, workshops, programming, food, and socializing. Now, before I get into my process of standing on stage in front of QR codes, I want to share a concept you might be familiar with. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, we're definitely going to cover some of this in my brief intro in the next 10 minutes. The idea is that a human's psychological safety is built from the bottom up, layer by layer. Food, we have that. Love, we have that. Safety, we have that. But we're programmers. So for us, the diagram looks a bit more like this one. So there you go. That's the Wi-Fi passcode if you haven't already got it. Put that in your phones, your laptops. Let's test this Wi-Fi out, shall we? And if you're like me, Wi-Fi is all I need to get by. Please post, please be nice in public about the excellent talks and folks I know you're going to meet over the next 3 days. As a speaker, the validation and good feels you get from nice comments on the internet is huge. But of course, you should also tell them in person if you can. I ain't too proud to beg on behalf of our speakers' feelings. If you'd like us to see and possibly reshare your posts, please use the hashtags and follow us on the various social networks. Ruby Central is not currently on TikTok, although if you'd like to see me dancing in the street, I will listen to bribes. There is also the conference Slack. If you haven't already added to your vast collection of workspaces, please do. The team will be sharing important information in there, and there's channels to join for the hack day and for the workshops tomorrow. And if you've got questions for staff, just reach out, and they'll be there. Everyone got this? Cool? Now, you're probably a little bit curious, or you might not be, who's behind this whole thing, and I second that emotion. The answer is Ruby Central. Essentially, they take care of the Ruby Commons. They effectively own Ruby gems, the bundler, and gem clients on our behalf, keeping them operational, security patched, and improving to the point where you probably don't even think about it. How many times a day does your CI build a new set of gems? How many times a day do you bundle install? Ruby Central folks make sure that happens. You'll see some of these faces around the place. These are the volunteer board setting a direction for Ruby Central's efforts. And these are the folks who are actually doing the work, including Adarsh, the executive director, who's going to hop on stage in a little bit. Interested in seeing how you can help? Got questions? Head to booth 9 in the atrium. Look into membership using this QR code. And there's also a Q&A with the board on Thursday in one of the track rooms. The booth is also, if you don't already have it, where you get your t-shirt. My own personal thanks to this marvelous crew of volunteers who've given up hours and hours of time and going to give up hours and hours of time over the next few days to make this event a success. The effort and passion of this program committee only goes to show that you can't hurry love. These folks will introduce talks, help speakers, and generally make the day happen at all. Whoa, that was Phil Collins. How did that get in there? Oh. All right, you can't hurry love. The Supremes, better. Or was that just an excuse for another one of those? It's the same old song, after all. Another important component of putting on a big event like this is sponsors. Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's okay, that slide is upside down. Our platinum sponsor, Ravella's got a little video to share. First note, this stage is really bassy when that kicks in. I can feel the sponsorship. So all of these sponsors have been great, so I'm going to read them all out whilst we clap, and you should definitely use their products or join their teams in gratitude, depending on what they want, for their help with this conference. Additionally, a bunch of them are actually in the atrium, so please do stop by and have a chat with the folks on the various stands. Shopify, Cisco Meraki, Gusto, Chime, Flagrant, Beyond, Weedmaps, Cedar Code, ResumeX, ID.me, Scout, Sidekick, ThoughtBot, AppSignal, GitLab, Yworks, Tito, and Render. Thanks very much to those sponsors. They really make this event happen. Now, you might notice from my accent that I am not from round here. And when you hear from Ufuk later in the conference, my co-chair, you'll probably hear that he isn't either. So in January, Ufuk called me, and he was really saying something. Andy, he said, you are all I need to get by. Come on, Ufuk. For once in my life, I just want to attend RailsConf without having to spend 80 hours writing a talk. But Andy, you know that when it comes to RailsConf, you know it takes two to chair. And I love, thank you. And I love the way you do the things you do. Dude, we'll mostly be on US time, working the night shift. Andy, I'm desperate. This is verbatim, by the way. This is exactly how the conversation went. And you know, you are the sunshine of my life. He definitely said that. All right, Ufuk, don't look any further. You know, I'll be there, but only if I can do something very silly in the intro. So I was sat in the audience in Atlanta last year, and at the end of the conference, traditionally, is when the next year's location is revealed. See you in Detroit, they said. Huh, I said. So when it came to organizing, I was a ball of confusion, as I didn't know anything about Detroit. How to educate myself about this fine city we now find ourselves in? Easy. I simply tapped my fingertips on my TV and rented some movies. Now, I don't think this is the fault of the city of Detroit. It looks pretty nice here. It was a very pleasant walk from the hotel. But the movies that are set in Detroit even the posters are dark and foreboding. It's not exactly When Harry Met Sally, is it? So I'm amusing myself. You might say they have a bad case of the inner city blues. Thankfully, the good folks at Visit Detroit, who also won me over with a free espresso martini when I visited in January, have put together a site for you so you can explore the city. There's a bunch of good drinking and eating spots just north of us in the downtown. And if you go cruising a bit further north, there's Midtown. As a European, I walked in defiance of Motor City, but I'm sure you can grab an Uber, hop on the Q line or an electric scooter, and I look forward to see you all living for the city. I can personally recommend the Hudson Cafe and Buddy's Pizza, and heading up to Midtown, where there's some good eats, and you can find some places to shop around. I also particularly want to shout out Bon 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 in downtown, which does amazing individually wrapped chocolates. I've only got a picture of the bag because I can't help myself, and I ate the contents. Also, if you go in there and say, Andy sent me, I'm really hoping that when I go in there on Friday to get some gifts for the kids when I go home, they might send me some freebies. So Also, it will really confuse them, and that would be great. So whilst we're here in Detroit, I understand the weather here is a bit unpredictable, so I looked at the only authoritative source of news in the world. I encourage you to head out and explore the town, but you're probably worried about bad weather. It was much worse in late January when I came and trudged through a blizzard. In fact, Wednesday, when we're actually going to be out on the balcony, the far side of the other side of the ballroom, it looks like it's going to be a mini heat wave. There's a possibility of a quiet storm today or Thursday, but time will reveal whether that actually happens. Right. The code of conduct is on the website. It's not a surprising document. I still think you should read it. The gist is, be nice to everybody. But if you'll indulge me, I'd like to expand a little bit. I feel strongly about this. I've been running events for 10 years in our community. I do have an unwelcome list for Brighton Ruby. And I have used it in the past to uninvite people. We want to hear about any bad behavior. This is a welcoming event, and I and the team feel a personal responsibility for all of you, and we don't want anyone feeling unsafe or bullied at this event. So these are my expectations. A red incident is a serious physical or verbal assault. I would hope everybody would think to report this because you've all got brains. I would be asking myself, should I call the police? A yellow incident in my head is a badly worded joke, an inadvertent slight, a faux pas, or a misreading of a social situation. I would like to think another attendee would call out the poor choice of language or explain why that's not cool. We all make mistakes, and that's fine. Apologize. If you are corrected, it's not about you. Suck it up. If you genuinely want to get better at this, apologize genuinely and think about changing your behavior. Talk less, smile more. I don't necessarily expect to hear about this stuff. It would be, if every time someone said something stupid, I heard about it, it would be like living in my own head. But if you feel uncomfortable about confronting someone about their language or behavior, or if you wish you had, even if it's a small thing, let someone on staff know, and we will fix it. Now, in between silly mistakes and full-out assault, there's a wide variety of uncomfortable situations. Now, repeated othering through speech or jokes, sleazing, repeated yellow offenses. A lot of these things you might be tempted to excuse. Oh, they were drunk, or they didn't mean it, they don't know. Please let me know about these things. It's exactly the sort of behavior it's too easy to excuse from a position of privilege. And this is exactly the sort of thing that shouldn't happen in our community or in the workplace. If you want to argue with me that this is excessive, don't. This isn't about you. You are not being attacked. If you do feel safe in our community, if you've never been on the receiving end of behavior that made you question going to a meetup or a conference, brilliant. Well done, everyone. I would hope you never have to experience those things. This is about helping those in our community who don't feel as safe as you do. Right, the day. There is, as you are all aware, a vegetarian-forward breakfast that you didn't want to leave, apparently, and come in and see me, with hot and cold drinks and additional coffees from the truck in the atrium. Keep an eye on Slack and email for information about that. Day 1 starts and finishes with a keynote, with talks in the middle. Day 2 is our hack day and workshops, and we will reiterate details about those things before the last keynote today. And on Wednesday, it's followed by a happy hour on the balcony, which is out the other side there. Day 3, no keynote in the morning. We're going straight into the tracks and finishing a little bit early with Aaron's keynote and a wrap-up social for those of us who aren't rushing off for a flight. And that will be the end of the road for the event. So today, step 1, breakfast. Well done, everybody. Especially well done if you managed to escape the Kafka-esque concrete nightmare that is the hotel. You will be well fed at this conference. There is plenty more food where that came from. Don't worry about a thing. There is also the GitLab-sponsored Ruby Cafe for coffee during the day in between meals amongst all of our sponsors in the atrium. Maybe stick to decaf after lunch so you aren't awake all night long. There's a pattern to all of the days, deliberately. All together upstairs for keynotes, downstairs for talks and workshops and our lovely sponsors. Lunch will always be up here, and for breakfasts and socials, just follow your nose or pay attention to Slack or your emails. Links to the schedule are all over the place. If you get lost, look for one of these red t-shirts. It says staff on the back. There you go. Couple of things to sign up for later in the conference that I need to tell you about now. Headshots are by appointment only. Slots are limited, and they are tomorrow afternoon. Anyone want to take that? Cool. The details are also in Slack and emails. I'm just doing it because people don't read their emails because humans are going to human. Also, for the workshops tomorrow, it really, really helps to do the pre-work. That is mostly just downloading stuff and joining a Slack channel. Anyone can do that, right? You've all downloaded stuff before, right? Okay. Now, with the shape of this year's conference fresh in your mind, I would like to invite Adarsh, the Executive Director of Ruby Central, up to talk about next year's event.
Thank you, Andy. It's a hard act to follow. I wish I had a pun left over, but I think you took them all. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, RailsConf. We normally announce next year's RailsConf location at the end of the conference, and this time we're going to do something a little bit different and share two pieces of news. First, we are delighted to announce that we want to involve all of you in the selection of where the next RailsConf will be held next spring. We will share a link in Slack to a Google form which will help you tell us which locations work best for you. And I also want to share with a heavy heart that we've decided that RailsConf 2025 will be the final one produced by Ruby Central. Beyond 2025, we'll be focused on RubyConf as our flagship event as we deepen our work in open source development, regional conferences, meetups, DEI initiatives, and other community projects. Next year at RailsConf 2025, we will reimagine the format to be a celebration of Rails, the Rails community, and the history of RailsConf. This means that there will be less content, a smaller number of tickets, and probably a much bigger party. A limited number of supporter tickets will be on sale now, and we'll be sharing the link with everybody in Slack. Why this change? We know this comes as a surprise to many of you, especially after almost 20 years of putting this conference on. Suffice to say, this is a difficult announcement to make for those of us who've been involved in running Ruby Central, producing these conferences for many years, or in some cases attending almost all of them for the last 11 years. We have historically been an organization which produces conferences, who relatively recently became responsible for critical open source infrastructure in bundled Ruby gems. Given the recent success we've had funding our Ruby open source work and the multitude of conference options available, especially very high quality regional conferences, our goal is now to become an open source focused organization which happens to put on one conference a year, which is RubyConf. We have big goals for amazing projects to enrich and grow the Ruby community, but running 2 large conferences per year takes up an enormous amount of time, energy, and money. Every 6 months, putting a show on is a lot. And it prevents us from working on other exciting and new projects. There are many other factors contributing to this decision, but suffice it to say, we've been thinking about this for a long time, and we decided now is the best time to make this change. Now what? We wanted to make this announcement now at the beginning of the conference, not to bum everybody out, but rather to give all of you at the conference an opportunity to talk to me, to the organizers or the board members about how you feel and how this is affecting you and how you want to be involved. If you want to find me, I look like this. Please don't hesitate to find me for a chat. I'll always be walking around, and I'm always open to chat with somebody. The board and I will all be, you can talk to the board also. The board and I will all be at the Ruby Central booth, which is near the sponsors, and which is also where you pick up t-shirts and stickers. So please stop by and talk to us and let us know what you think. We will also be hosting a panel discussion Thursday morning at 11 a.m., where we'll be talking through this and any other questions you may have about our work at Ruby Central, including open source, our meetup initiative, and any of the other things that are coming down the pipe. I know I've talked to you, some of you privately about this news. Some of you saw this coming, and others are upset to hear it. What can you do? First and foremost, you can enjoy this RailsConf to its fullest which I really know you're going to do based on the hotel lobby last night. Second, if you want to support next year's RailsConf, a limited number of supporter tickets will be available, as I mentioned, and we'll get that information out to you. And finally, you can get a ticket to this year's RubyConf in beautiful Chicago. We did a site visit last year, and everything looks amazing. This year also, we're going to feature Matza in person for the first time in many years, which will be very exciting. And the dates and everything are on rubyconf.org. Supporter tickets will also be available for RubyConf during this conference as well. And general tickets will be available soon. While this is the end of one chapter for Ruby Central, it's the beginning of many more to come. Thank you so much.
So I'm just saying, if you want to grab one of the early tickets, you're going to want to grab one of the early tickets if you're going to go-go. But given it's the last RailsConf, you've really got to be there. Okay, I am going to stop, I promise. No one said I could do it. No one wanted me to do it. Right, can everyone stand up? Even those at the back on the round tables, I see you. Turn to somebody and high-five them. Put your hands in the air. Jump about a bit, because I've been talking rubbish for ages. Also, I just love the power that a microphone on a stage gives you. All right, you sit back down. It's fun.